Some seasons in football are defined by tactics, some by the collective will of a team. But every once in a while, a season doesn't belong to a team, it belongs to one man. A man who began the 2013-2014 Premier League season not on the pitch, but in exile, shunned, banned for 10 games, a pariah, a villain in the eyes of the world. But beneath the controversy, a fire was burning, a competitive inferno, a talent so fierce, so untamable, it was about to be unleashed on the league in a way it had never seen before, and may never see again. This is the story of how Luis Suarez almost achieved immortality. To understand the miracle, you must first understand the context. This wasn't the Liverpool of Jurgen Klopp. This was Brendan Rodgers' Liverpool. A team of moments, brilliant in flashes, frustratingly inconsistent in others. They had an ambitious captain in Steven Gerrard, desperate for the one trophy that had always eluded him. They had sparks of magic from a young Felipe Coutinho, but they were a team on the outside looking in, a team missing that final piece, that killer instinct. And their most lethal weapon? He was watching from the stands. The 10-match ban for biting Chelsea's Bronislav Ivanovic was the flashpoint. For many, it was the final straw. A genius, yes, but a flawed one, a liability. The calls to sell him, to expel him from English football were deafening. But Liverpool, they held their nerve. They waited. And on September 25th, after 5 league games had already passed, the cage was finally unlocked. Matchday 6, Sunderland away. All eyes are on one man. Does he look rusty? Hesitant? No. He looks hungry. It doesn't take long. A perfectly weighted ball from Daniel Sturridge, and Suarez is there. A poacher's finish. He's back. And he scored another before the final whistle blew. This wasn't just the return of a goal scorer. It was the birth of a phenomenon. He had a partner in crime, Daniel Sturridge. Together they were the SAS, a partnership forged in instinct and telepathy. One cuts inside, the other peels away. A glance, a pass, the iconic dance celebration. It was electric. Defenses had no answer. West Brom? Demolished. A hat-trick for Suarez. Fulham? 2 more. Liverpool weren't just winning, they were putting on a show. And as the goals began to fly in, a quiet whisper started to build around Anfield. A whisper that was about to become a deafening roar. The beast was loose, and he was just getting warmed up. Every great striker has a favorite victim. For Luis Suarez, that victim was Norwich City. They were his personal canvas, the team upon which he painted his most audacious works of art. And on December 4th, 2013, he didn't just paint a picture, he created a masterpiece that would hang in the halls of Premier League history forever. The game is just 15 minutes old. The ball loops high in the air, a speculative clearance. For any normal striker, it's a bouncing ball to be brought under control. But Luis Suarez wasn't a normal striker. He sees something no one else sees, an opportunity, an angle that defies physics. He lets it bounce once, and then he unleashes chaos. From 40 yards out, a dipping, swerving, impossible volley that arcs over the goalkeeper and crashes into the back of the net. Anfield is stunned, into a moment of collective disbelief before it explodes. What did we just witness? That wasn't a goal. It was an act of pure, unadulterated genius. And he was just getting started. If the first goal was about audacity, the second was about pure instinct. A corner whipped in, a defender draped all over him, and still he improvises. A half volley, flicked with the outside of his boot into the far corner. It's a goal born in the streets of Uruguay, perfected under the lights of Anfield. But he still wasn't done. The hat-trick goal is perhaps the most Suarez of them all. He nutmegs a defender, flicks the ball over another's head, and then, without breaking stride, he unleashes a half volley of such ferocious power it nearly rips the net off. It's a combination of playground skill and raw, brutal force. The crowd is in ecstasy. They're witnessing a one-man demolition. And for his final act, the free kick. Perfectly placed, up and over the wall. The goalkeeper doesn't even move. A goal of pure, calculated precision. The final flourish on an immortal performance. 4 goals, 4 different moments of impossible skill. He hadn't just beaten Norwich, he had personally dismantled them. He had taken the rule book, ripped it to shreds, and written his own. That night, the message sent to the rest of the Premier League was clear. The villain had returned, but he'd come back as something else entirely, something more powerful, something unstoppable. This wasn't just 4 goals in a football match. It was a declaration of war on the rest of the league.
The first Liverpool player to score 3 league hat-tricks against the same club. 3 stunners.
Norwich demolition wasn't just a flash in the pan. It was a spark that lit a wildfire. That one performance supercharged the entire team with a dangerous, intoxicating belief. And with Luis Suarez as the tip of the spear, they began to carve their way through the Premier League. They didn't just beat teams, they humiliated them. Arsenal, fellow title contenders, arrived at Anfield. They were sent home bruised, battered and broken after a 5-1 annihilation. Liverpool were 4-0 up in 20 minutes. It was a blitzkrieg. They went to Old Trafford, the home of their fiercest rivals, and didn't just win, they conquered. A 3-0 masterclass, a humiliation of Manchester United on their own patch. Tottenham thrashed, Cardiff dispatched. With every game, the SAS sharpened their blades. When Sturridge didn't score, Suarez did. When Suarez was marked by 3 men, Sturridge found the space. They were a perfect storm of movement, skill, and ruthless finishing. The whispers from Anfield were now a roar heard across the country, from hopefuls to genuine, terrifying title contenders. They were top of the league, and the dream was on. And then came the game that felt like the title decider. Manchester City, at Anfield, a titanic clash. Liverpool raced into a 2-0 lead, then were pegged back to 2-2, before a young Coutinho fired in a late winner that sent the stadium into delirium. At the final whistle, the camera found one man, Steven Gerrard. Tears in his eyes, he gathered his teammates, his warriors, for a huddle that would become iconic. This was it, the moment. 25 years at his boyhood club, the one trophy that defined his legacy was within his grasp. This wasn't just for the fans anymore. It wasn't just about the title. It was about him.
And in Luis Suarez, Gerrard had the ultimate weapon to deliver his destiny. The flawed genius, now the unstoppable hero, was the man who could carry his captain over the finish line. Every player in that huddle knew it. They were going to win it. For Stevie.
With the finishing line in sight, Suarez ascended to a different plane. Gravity-defying headers, outrageous chips over stranded goalkeepers, ferocious volleys that left nets bulging and defenders staring into space. He was unplayable, unmarkable, unthinkable. 30 goals, then 31. Not a single one from the penalty spot. A feat of open play brilliance that defied all modern logic. He was crowned the PFA Player of the Year. He secured the Premier League Golden Boot. On paper, he had conquered English football. 3 games to go. The title was theirs to lose. Immortality was within touching distance.
3 games to go. The equation was simple. Keep winning and the title was theirs. But standing in their way was the ultimate spoiler, the master of the dark arts, Jose Mourinho. His Chelsea side arrived at Anfield with one mission: to destroy the dream. They set up not to play football, but to suffocate it. A deep, stubborn defensive wall. For 45 minutes, Liverpool pushed, they probed, but everywhere they turned, they were met with a blue wall. The air in Anfield, once electric with celebration, was now thick with a suffocating tension. The home crowd could feel it. Something wasn't right.
Then, it happened. A moment so cruel, so unfair, it feels like a scene from a Greek tragedy. The ball rolls towards the one man who deserved this title more than anyone. The captain, Mr. Liverpool. A routine touch he's made 1,000,000 times in his career. But on the slick Anfield turf, his footing gives way. He slips. Dembaba pounces. Suddenly, a blue shirt is all alone with 50 yards of green grass between him and the goal. Anfield holds its breath. The world holds its breath. You can see the desperation in Gerrard's chase, but it's too late. The dream, which felt so real just seconds before, began to vanish. The net bulges. The stadium falls silent. A single, devastating moment of misfortune. And the captain, the hero of the story, could only watch as the title he had spent a lifetime chasing began to slip through his fingers.
Hope was not entirely lost, but the magic was gone. Now, they needed a miracle. They traveled to Crystal Palace, needing a landslide victory to close the goal difference. And for 78 minutes, it looked like they might just get it. 1-0, 2-0, then 3-0. A professional, ruthless performance. But then, the collapse. 79th minute. Palace get one back. A consolation, surely. 81st minute. Another one. Suddenly, there's panic. The confident swagger is replaced by frantic, desperate defending. 88th minute. The equalizer. From 3-0 up,
to 3-all in the space of 9 calamitous minutes. Final whistle blows. The music fades, leaving only the raw, heartbreaking audio of Suarez crying. The camera holds on him, hiding his face in his shirt as Gerrard tries to console him. These weren't the tears of a man who simply lost a football match. These were the tears of a man who had given every last ounce of his soul, only to watch his captain's dream and his own die in the cruelest way imaginable. The dream was over. The trophy was lost. The dream had died in the cruelest of circumstances. But what remained, what could never be taken away, was the legend of the season itself. A story of a player who touched a level of footballing genius that few have ever reached. The numbers were staggering, almost nonsensical in the modern era. 31 goals in just 33 games, and not a single one from the penalty spot. This wasn't a season padded by statistics. This was pure, relentless, open play destruction. He added 12 assists. He was directly involved in 43 goals. He didn't just contribute to Liverpool's attack. For long stretches, he was Liverpool's attack. He was a savage, a magician, a force of nature who bent the game to his will week after week. It wasn't just a team charging for a title. It was one man on a divine mission, playing a different sport to everyone else. He collected his individual awards, the Golden Boot, the Player of the Year, but they were bittersweet trophies, a reminder of what he had achieved and what the team had so painfully lost. That summer, he was gone, off to Barcelona to win the trophies his talent deserved. Liverpool Football Club would have to wait another 6 years to finally lift the Premier League trophy. But the memory of that season, the feeling he gave the fans, the belief that anything was possible when he stepped on the pitch, that was a victory in itself. The villain who returned a king, the flawed genius who became a god for 9 unforgettable months and gave Anfield a season that will never be forgotten. The last of his kind.